Leah was sitting in the hospital waiting room, her fingers intertwined in nervousness, as anxiety coursed through her body like an electric current. The sound of her father's heartbeat monitor echoed in her mind, a constant reminder of life's fragility. Each beep seemed like a countdown, and her mind raced, imagining terrifying scenarios she might face if something happened to him. The cold white walls of the hospital felt like they were closing in on her, making the atmosphere oppressive. Leah looked out the fogged window, watching the city lights flicker like lost stars in a dark sky. It was as if life outside was moving at a rapid pace, while she was trapped in a moment of total stagnation. The small family business, a furniture store her father had built with so much effort, was on the verge of bankruptcy, and the bills were piling up mercilessly. The pressure to support her family and care for her father's health weighed heavily on her shoulders. A flash of memory hit her, bringing back the days when her father took her to the store. He taught her about each piece, every detail, as if each piece of furniture told a story. She remembered how her father smiled when he saw her pick up a brush to restore an old chair, his eyes shining with pride. It was a simpler time, and the pain of the current reality hit her like a punch to the stomach. With her gaze lost, Leah began to think of all the options she had. There was no contingency plan, and every idea that surfaced in her mind seemed empty and unreal. The phone rang and her heart raced, but it was just a call from a friend asking how things were going. She replied with a forced smile, trying not to show the anguish consuming her. Then Ethan Carter, a real estate mogul known for his cunning and coldness, entered the room. He was a man who had always intrigued her, not just for his wealth, but for the aura of power he exuded. His impeccable suit and the way he walked into the room demanded respect. But there was something more that captured Leah's attention, a shadow of loneliness in his dark eyes. "Leah," he said, approaching with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "How are you?" She stared at him, surprised by his visit. What brought him to such a common place, far from his world of luxury and business? Leah couldn't ignore the contradiction he represented, a man who could solve her problems, but could also be the source of them. "My father. He's in the hospital," she replied, her voice trembling, the weight of worry evident in her words. "His condition isn't good." Ethan paused, his penetrating gaze fixed on Leah. She sensed there was something more behind his facade, something that could be the key to her concerns. With a subtle gesture, he led her to a more secluded corner of the room, away from curious eyes. "I heard about your company's troubles," Ethan began, his voice low and controlled. "I can help you." Leah's heart raced. What did he want in return? The offer seemed too good to be true. She hesitated, distrust burning in her chest. "How could you help me?" she asked, her tone challenging. "I can save your company. I can ensure your father gets the treatment he needs," Ethan said, his gaze fixed on hers as if he wanted to penetrate her soul. "But you will need to make a small sacrifice." Leah frowned. Fear mingling with curiosity took her to the store. The joy in his eyes as he watched her learn to work with her hands, the importance of building something with love. Everything now seemed threatened. The following weeks were a race against time. Leah spent her days divided between the hospital and meetings with Ethan. He was relentless, always presenting plans, making calls, and ensuring her father received the best treatment. At the same time, Leah felt increasingly trapped in an emotional labyrinth. The pressure to save her father and the company made it difficult to question what was really happening. Was she really marrying for love or just out of necessity? That morning, while reading a book by her father's bedside, he opened his eyes. The familiar spark, even if weakened, brought a smile to Leah's face. "Hi, my love. How are you?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "I'm fine, Dad," the nurse said. "You're improving," she lied, knowing he was still fighting the illness. He studied her for a moment, as if he could see through her facade.
"You seem worried, Leah. What's going on?" His voice was gentle, but the intensity of his gaze made her heart ache. "I'm just thinking about the store," she said, choosing her words carefully. "You know, I can't let things get out of control." Her father frowned, realizing there was more at stake than she was saying. "What haven't you told me?" he insisted, a weakness in his tone that made Leah feel guilty. She hesitated, knowing the truth was too heavy a burden to share. "It's just that sometimes things don't go as planned," she affirmed, trying not to let on the conflict consuming her. He took her hand, his words filled with love and concern. "Leah, whatever it is, know that I've always trusted you. You're stronger than you think. Remember that." Her father's words echoed in her mind as Leah left the hospital that day, feeling confused. She walked through the city streets, watching life move on while hers seemed frozen. Then, a sleek black car pulled up beside her. It was Ethan, with an expression that mixed determination with a hint of anxiety. "We need to talk, Leah," he said, his voice firm, but there was something more in his tone that intrigued her. She got into the car, her heart racing. The silence between them was thick, filled with unspoken meanings. Ethan seemed to be in a mood she couldn't decipher. "I know this is all new and may be scary for you," he began, driving to a cafe, "but I want you to know that I'm here to support you. This marriage is just the beginning." "A beginning of what, Ethan?" Leah asked, frustration beginning to seep into her voice. "This isn't normal. It shouldn't be like this." Ethan stopped the car and turned to her, his dark eyes fixed on hers. "You need to understand that this isn't just about us. It's about saving what you love, what you and your father built. What I can offer goes beyond what you imagine." She took a deep breath, his words haunting her. There was a confidence in his voice, but at the same time a coldness that kept her on edge. "And if I don't want this? What if I want to do this differently?" she challenged, her heart racing. Ethan chuckled softly, but his smile was more a mask than a genuine expression. "You know you have no other choice. The pressure is mounting, Leah. Your father needs you now more than ever, and if all goes well, you might find that this marriage can bring something you never expected." The idea of something more intrigued her. How could he promise something so grand when everything around her seemed to be crumbling? But looking at him, Leah realized there was a vulnerability hidden beneath the surface. He was also a man fighting against expectations.
Perhaps that struggle was what would unite them. The cafe was bustling, but Leah felt isolated in a separate world. They sat at a table near the window, and Ethan ordered coffee and some pastries. The aroma of fresh coffee filled the air, but it couldn't dissipate the tension hovering between them. "So what do you really want, Leah?" Ethan questioned, breaking the silence. She hesitated, battling the fear and insecurity consuming her. I want to protect my father. I want him to know that I'm doing what's right, even if it means marrying you." Her voice trembled, but honesty freed her. Ethan looked at her with an intensity that made her feel as if she were naked before him. "Sometimes what's right is also what's hardest, but that doesn't mean it can't become a choice you love in the future." She pondered his words. How could someone who seems so distant understand the complexity of her emotions? But there was a challenge in the way he spoke, and she couldn't help but feel drawn to him. After an intense and revealing conversation, Leah decided she would embrace this new life, but not without fighting for her own emotions. The marriage could be a practical arrangement, but there was a glimmer of hope that, along the way, something more could arise between them. She could learn to see Ethan not just as a partner in a contract, but as a man with his own insecurities and dreams. As the sun began to set, casting a golden light over the city, Leah felt a mix of optimism and apprehension. The path ahead was full of uncertainties, but perhaps, just perhaps,
Life would lead her to a place she had never imagined. Leah and Ethan's wedding was an event filled with glamour, but behind the smiles and festivities, there was a veil of uncertainty hanging between them. The day after the ceremony, Leah woke up before the sun, her heart heavy and her mind filled with questions. The promises made at the altar echoed in her head, in wealth and in poverty, in health and in sickness. But what did those words really mean? In the kitchen, while making coffee, the house was still enveloped in silence. The wedding flowers were still scattered around the living room, but their beauty now seemed like a reminder of a life that wasn't hers. The aroma of fresh coffee mingled with the scent of the countryside, and Leah remembered the conversation with her father. It was a memory she wanted to preserve, but life was pushing her toward a new reality, one she wasn't sure she was ready to face. The buzz of her phone pulled her from her thoughts. It was a message from Ethan. "We need to discuss the company today. I'll be over at 10. The coldness of the message sent a chill down her spine. Even after the ceremony, he was already focused on business. With a mix of anticipation and apprehension, Leah got ready. By noon, Ethan arrived dressed in an impeccable suit that showcased his imposing figure. As he entered, he quickly scanned the environment, his critical eyes assessing every detail. "I hope you're ready to work," he said, his voice firm, as if they were in the company's boardroom, not in the house that should be their home. "I'm always ready to help my father," Leah replied, determined to keep a light tone. "But we also need to talk about us." Ethan raised an eyebrow, a slight smile appearing on his lip.
"That's something we can discuss another time. Today, the focus is the company. Let's go." With a sigh, Leah followed him to the living room. The conversation quickly turned into a frenzy of numbers and projections, and Leah found herself immersed in the management of a company that, at its core, still belonged to her father. She tried to concentrate, but Ethan's presence made her nervous. The tension between them was palpable, as if they were navigating a minefield. "We need to increase sales, and your father must be in charge," Ethan declared, his eyes fixed on a graph showing the decline in sales. "He needs time to recover," Leah retorted, a bit more assertive than she intended. "We can't pressure him right now." Ethan looked at her, his expression serious, but with a hint of frustration. "Leah, what you don't understand is that without quick action, everything you love could crumble." The intensity of his voice made her feel small. She took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "I know you have good intentions, but we need to find a balance. This isn't just a business for me. It's a life." Silence settled between them, and Leah realized she was beginning to question Ethan's true motivations. He was a businessman, but there was something more behind that facade. He was so committed to saving the company that he seemed to ignore the emotions permeating the space. Ethan finally spoke, his voice softer. "I know this is hard for you, but we're in this together. I want you to know that you can count on me." The sincerity in his words surprised her, and for a moment, Leah caught a glimpse of the man she could fall in love with. But then fear took over again. What if their relationship was never more than a business alliance? That night, as Leah prepared for bed, her mind was in a frenzy. The day had been a whirlwind of emotions, and her interactions with Ethan left her confused. There were moments when he seemed close, almost vulnerable, but then he would revert to being the man who always seemed to step ahead, making her just a pawn in his game. In the early morning hours, a noise in the hallway awoke her. She got up, driven by curiosity and the instinct to protect what remained of her family. When she stepped out of her room, she saw Ethan in the living room, staring at the screen of his phone with a tense expression. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice trembling. He turned, surprise in his eyes, quickly morphing into caution. "Just business," he replied, putting his phone away. But Leah could sense there was more to it. "You don't have to carry this alone. We're married now. We should be a team." The intensity of Ethan's gaze pierced through her. "It's not that simple, Leah.
Sometimes it's better to keep some things a secret. You don't want to get involved in matters that could harm you. She felt a chill in her stomach. The idea that he was hiding something from her unsettled her. "Ethan, we're committed. I can't believe this is just a contract." He hesitated, the tension in the room palpable. "It's not just a contract. That's what I'm trying to protect." When you realize you have more to lose, you start to act more cautiously. Leah felt betrayed, a part of her heart closing off. It was as if he was building a barrier between them, and she was desperate to connect. "I want to understand you, Ethan, but you need to be honest with me. I'm not just a trophy or a business partner. I'm your wife." Ethan's expression softened, but the sadness in his eyes left her even more confused. "You don't know what you're talking about. The world I live in is full of intrigue, and I don't want you to get hurt." There was a vulnerability in his words that made her hesitate. Leah wanted to step into that world with him, but the distrust held her back. "Then let me in." Silence. Ethan looked away, struggling with his emotions. I can't, Leah. I don't want you to see the darker side of my life." With a heavy heart, Leah returned to her room, feeling more lost than ever. The fragility of their new marriage was at stake, and she didn't know if she could survive it. There was a part of Ethan she wanted to discover, but the wall he had built was impossible to ignore. In the following days, Leah struggled against the feeling of inadequacy. Their relationship seemed trapped in a vicious cycle of unfulfilled promises and secrets. What began as an agreement had now transformed into an internal battle, and the pressure to save her father and the company made everything even more complicated. Ethan continued to be a force to be reckoned with, but the emotional distance between them was increasingly evident. She realized she needed to do something. She needed to break down the walls he had built around himself. One night, she decided it was time to act. Upon returning from a visit to the hospital, she found Ethan working in his office. He was absorbed in paperwork, his eyes tired and his brow furrowed. "Ethan, we need to talk," she said, determination in her voice. He looked up, surprised. "Now?" "Yes, now," she replied, resolute. "This can't go on like this. We can't live in a marriage of appearances." Ethan observed her, the conflict evident in his gaze. "What do you want me to say? That this isn't hard for me too? Then let's deal with it together. I don't want to be a partner you hide." He sighed as if the weight of the world was on his shoulders. "You don't know what you're asking for, Leah." She took a step forward, her determination reflected in her eyes. "Then show me. Show me who you really are." Silence filled the room, and for a brief moment, Leah saw a fraction of the vulnerability he had hidden. "You don't understand," Ethan began, his voice trembling. "This world is dangerous. People aren't who they say they are, and I don't want you to be involved in it." "I can't stay on the sideline of your life," she insisted, the passion in her voice growing. "If that means facing challenges together, then I'm ready." Ethan moved closer, slowly, his eyes locked on hers, and something changed in the air. "You don't know what you're talking about." But as he looked at her, he seemed to wonder if he had underestimated her strength. "No, I know exactly what I'm talking about, and I'm willing to fight for us, for this family." Finally, Ethan nodded, his expression softening. "Then let's face this together, but know that it will be a difficult path." The tension between them seemed to finally dissipate, and Leah felt hope blossoming in her heart. With every step they took, they were starting to build something deeper than a mere agreement. In the following days, Leah and Ethan were more connected than ever. The openness they had during the previous night had broken some of the barriers that existed between them. Now their relationship had a new tone, a mix of determination and hope. However, the outside world was about to intervene. One morning, while Leah was organizing some folders in the living room, a notification on her phone caught her attention. It was a text message from an unknown number, and when she opened it, her heart raced. The message read, "Leah, You need to know the truth about Ethan. He is not who you think he is." Instantly, a chill ran down her spine. The sender didn't identify themselves, and the message raised more questions than answers. Who was this person? What did they know about Ethan? Leah's protective instincts kicked in, and she decided she needed to confront Ethan. But at the same time, a seed of doubt began to sprout in her mind. That night, after dinner, while Ethan was preparing for a business meeting, Leah decided it was time to act. He was sitting at the table, reviewing documents, and unaware of her presence. "Ethan, we need to talk." Her voice sounded firm, but anxiety overwhelmed her. He looked up at her, surprised. "Now?" "Yes, now," she replied, resolute. "This can't go on like this. We can't live in a marriage of appearances."
Leah saw a shadow pass through his eyes. "What exactly did the message say?" "It didn't say much, just that you are not who I think you are." "What does this mean, Ethan?" The tension in her voice was palpable. Ethan stood up. The pain in his expression made him appear more human. "Leah, this is not what you think." She crossed her arms, feeling the need for an explanation. "Then tell me what it is. Why would this person say something like that? What are you hiding?" He took a deep breath, as if weighing each word. "My past is complicated. I'm not just a successful businessman. There are things about me that could hurt you." Leah's heart raced. Curiosity and fear intertwined within her. "I can't trust you if you don't tell me. This is a marriage, Ethan. We need to be honest with each other." He looked at her, his dark eyes full of conflicting emotions. "I am a businessman, and in the business world, people are not what they seem. There are rivals, betrayals, and secrets that protect those we love." "And who do you really love, Ethan?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I love my family and want to protect them at all costs." His words left Leah confused. What did this mean for her? "And me? Where do I fit into this?" "You are part of my family now, but what I'm facing could put you in danger." Leah stood up, frustration overtaking her. "I can't go on like this. I need to know if I can trust you." He stepped closer, his gaze intense. "I don't want to lose you, Leah. I just want to protect you." The sincerity in his voice softened her heart, but the uncertainties remained. "How can I trust you when you aren't honest with me?" A tear rolled down Ethan's cheek, and he pulled away, as if fighting against something bigger. "You don't understand what's at stake here. My past is dark, and I don't want you to be involved in it." Leah felt a mix of compassion and pain. "Then let me decide. I have the right to know." Ethan hesitated, the internal conflict evident in his gaze. "If I tell you, you might regret it. It's a risk I'm willing to take," she affirmed, her voice steady. With a deep sigh, Ethan relented. "All right, but know that the truths I reveal may change everything." Ethan began to tell his story. He spoke of a past filled with struggles and betrayals, about a father involved in illegal activities that left him afraid of being associated with anything that could tarnish his name. He explained how he had decided to change his life and work hard to build an empire from scratch, but how the shadows of the past still haunted him. "And that's why I can't involve you in this. I can't let you become a victim of something I didn't choose." Leah listened intently, her heart breaking with every word. She understood his pain, but she also knew that this secret was a barrier that could destroy what they were building together. "But you can't protect me if you don't let me in," she said, her voice trembling. Ethan stepped closer, his eyes filled with sadness. "You are all I have, Leah, and I don't want you to get hurt because of me." The intensity in his voice made her feel that there was something deeper there, something she was willing to explore even with the risks involved. "Then let's face it together," she proposed, determination returning to her voice. "We are both in this marriage. You are not alone." The fragility of their situation was becoming a strength. Leah realized that despite all the insecurities, she was willing to fight for Ethan. There was a growing connection between them, a flame that needed to be nurtured. Ethan hesitated, but the light in Leah's eyes seemed to illuminate him from within. He nodded, finally understanding that vulnerability was the first step toward building a solid relationship. "You're right. Together, we can face anything." With that, Leah smiled, a small gesture that ignited hope in their hearts. However, they knew that the road ahead was still uncertain. Challenges were about to intensify as the sun set,
casting a golden glow through the room. Leah and Ethan were ready to face whatever the future held. Now, more than ever, they were partners, and together they were prepared to challenge the world. Days passed, and as Leah and Ethan tried to build a new reality together, the consequences of their revelations began to surface. The commitment they had made was not just a contract, it was a promise to face the challenges that arose together. But the shadow of Ethan's past still loomed over them like a threatening cloud, ready to burst. The next morning, Leah awoke with a foreboding feeling. Something was off. The day was cloudy, and the air felt heavy, as if the universe was in tune with her anxieties. As she got up, she decided to prepare a special breakfast for Ethan, hoping to ease the tension between them. While the water boiled and the smells of fresh bread filled the kitchen, Leah heard the sound of a car stopping in front of the house. Curious, she looked out the window and saw a sleek black vehicle with dark windows. A shiver ran down her spine, and she felt a knot in her stomach. When Ethan entered the kitchen, a smile lit up his face at the sight of the breakfast she had prepared. But his smile faded when he noticed Leah's worried expression. "What happened?" he asked, alarmed. "There's a car parked in front of our house, and I don't recognize it." Ethan approached the window and looked outside, his expression darkening. "What did you say? A black car? It's been here for a few minutes." Concern began to consume Ethan as he grabbed his phone, checking for any messages or missed calls. "I can't let them get to you, Leah. Stay here." Without hesitation, he left the kitchen and headed to the front door. Leah followed him, her heart racing in her chest. She knew the situation was about to escalate, and the feeling of helplessness washed over her. When Ethan opened the door, an imposing-looking man stepped out of the car, adjusting his expensive suit. He had a confident posture and a piercing gaze that seemed to scrutinize every detail before him. Leah immediately felt that he was a threatening presence. "Ethan Carter," the man said, his voice smooth but laced with a tone of disdain. "We finally meet." Ethan maintained his composure, but Leah could see the tension in his shoulders. "What do you want, Alex?" he asked, his voice controlled, but with a hint of frustration. The man, whom Leah recognized as Alex, a business rival of Ethan's, stepped forward, a sarcastic smile on his face. "I just came to offer my condolences. I heard you decided to get married." He glanced at Leah, his assessment of her unsettling. "And who is the lovely lady who's lucky enough to marry a man so full of secrets?" Leah felt the need to defend herself, but Ethan held her arm, a gesture that spoke louder than words. "She is my wife, and you have nothing to do with this." Alex laughed, a cruel sound that reverberated in the air. "Your wife?" He looked at Leah, his eyes sparkling with malice. "Don't you think it would be good to know about your husband's past before stepping into this adventure?" Ethan stepped closer, the tension rising between them. "I'm not here to discuss the past. What do you want?" "Alex, I just want you to know that ghosts never stay behind. You might have escaped your past for a while, but it always finds a way to catch up with you." Leah looked at Ethan, concerned. The truth he had shared was still a mystery, shrouded in doubts. "What are you implying?" Ethan asked, anger rising in his voice. "Just a friendly reminder. You and I know how business works. You've made many enemies, Ethan, and some of them aren't as benevolent as I am." He turned to Leah, an enigmatic smile on his face. "You should be careful, dear. Not everything that glitters is gold." With that, Alex stepped back, returning to his car. Before getting in, he looked at Ethan, a provocative look in his eyes. "See you later, Ethan. And good luck, Leah. You're going to need it." As soon as Alex's car drove away, the tension in the air intensified. Leah turned to Ethan, confusion and worry painting her face. "What did he mean by that? Is there more to your past than you told me?" Ethan stepped away, frustration evident in every movement. "I'll take care of this, Leah. You don't need to worry about him." "But I do worry. You're hiding something from me. I can't stay here without knowing the truth." Her voice was a mix of desperation and determination. Ethan turned to her, his eyes revealing deep pain. "I just want to protect you. I can't lose you to my past." Leah stepped closer, placing her hand on his arm. "But we can't build a future together if we're not honest with each other. I want to know the truth." He took a deep breath, the internal battle visible in his eyes. "I don't know if I'm ready to tell you everything, but I'll try." Ethan began to speak, revealing the secrets that haunted him. He explained how his father had become involved in an illegal scheme, putting his family in danger, and how he had to fight to escape that world. "Alex is a reminder of what I tried to leave behind. He's always been a rival, but now it seems he's determined to make me pay for something I already left in the past." Leah listened intently, her heart aching for the struggles Ethan had to face. "You're not alone, Ethan. I'm here with you. Together, we can face whatever comes." He looked into her eyes, a mix of gratitude and love reflecting in his gaze. "Thank you, Leah. You don't know how much this means to me." In that moment, the bonds between them grew stronger. Like an invisible thread that connected them, they were ready to face any storm that the future might bring, together. But what Leah didn't know was that Ethan's past was about to become much more present, bringing challenges that would test not only the strength of their relationship, but also the very concept of love and loyalty. The following weeks were marked by increasing tension. Leah and Ethan tried to stay strong in their commitment, but the shadow of Ethan's past seemed to grow with each passing day. Alex's warning still echoed in Leah's mind, and the uncertainty of what could happen was always present. One morning, while Leah was in the living room reviewing some documents for her father's company, the phone rang. She answered, thinking it would be Ethan, but the voice on the other end was unfamiliar. "Leah." The voice was deep and authoritative. "It's me, Jake, from Ethan's office." Leah frowned. Jake was one of Ethan's assistants, but she didn't know him well. "Hi, Jake. What happened?" "We need you here immediately. Ethan. He's in a delicate situation and needs you by his side." Leah's heart raced. "What happened? Is he okay?" "He's fine, but there are some issues that need to be resolved. Can you come to the office?" Without hesitation, Leah grabbed her bag and quickly left the house, fear consuming her. Upon arriving at the office, she found Jake waiting at the entrance, the expression on his face serious. "What's happening? Where is Ethan?" "He's in the conference room. We were discussing an important contract, but Alex showed up again and things got out of control." Leah followed Jake through the hallways, each step heavy with anxiety. Upon entering the conference room, she found Ethan standing surrounded by several executives, all with worried expressions. When she saw her, immediately Ethan spent.
Challenges were about to intensify as the sun set, casting a golden glow through the room. Leah and Ethan were ready to face whatever the future held. Now more than ever, they were partners, and together they were prepared to challenge the world. Days passed, and as Leah and Ethan tried to build a new reality together, the consequences of their revelations began to surface. The commitment they had made was not just a contract, it was a promise to face the challenges that arose together. But the shadow of Ethan's past still loomed over them like a threatening cloud ready to burst. The next morning, Leah woke up with a foreboding feeling. Something was off. The day was cloudy and the air felt heavy, as if the universe was in tune with her anxieties. As she got up, she decided to prepare a special breakfast for Ethan, hoping to ease the tension between them. While the water boiled and the smells of fresh bread filled the kitchen, Leah heard the sound of a car stopping in front of the house. Curious, she looked out the window and saw a sleek black vehicle with dark windows. A shiver ran down her spine, and she felt a knot in her stomach. When Ethan entered the kitchen, a smile lit up his face at the sight of the breakfast she had prepared. But his smile faded when he noticed Leah's worried expression. "What happened?" he asked, alarmed. "There's a car parked in front of our house, and I don't recognize it." Ethan approached the window and looked outside, his expression darkening. "What did you say? A black car? It's been here for a few minutes." Concern began to consume Ethan as he grabbed his phone, checking for any messages or missed calls.
I can't let them get to you, Leah. Stay here. Without hesitation, he left the kitchen and headed to the front door. Leah followed him, her heart racing in her chest. She knew the situation was about to escalate, and the feeling of helplessness washed over her when Ethan opened the door. An imposing-looking man stepped out of the car, adjusting his expensive suit. He had a confident posture and a piercing gaze that seemed to scrutinize every detail before him. Leah immediately felt that he was a threatening presence. "Ethan Carter," the man said, his voice smooth but laced with a tone of disdain. "We finally meet." Ethan maintained his composure, but Leah could see the tension in his shoulders. "What do you want, Alex?" he asked, his voice controlled but with a hint of frustration. The man, whom Leah recognized as Alex, a business rival of Ethan's, stepped forward, a sarcastic smile on his face. "I just came to offer my condolences. I heard you decided to get married." He glanced at Leah, his assessment of her unsettling. "And who is the lovely lady who's lucky enough to marry a man so full of secrets?" Leah felt the need to defend herself, but Ethan held her arm, a gesture that spoke louder than words. "She is my wife, and you have nothing to do with this." Alex laughed, a cruel sound that reverberated in the air. "Your wife?" He looked at Leah, his eyes sparkling with malice. "Don't you think it'd be good to know about your husband's past before stepping into this adventure?" Ethan stepped closer, the tension rising between them. "I'm not here to discuss the past. What do you want?" "I want you to know that ghosts never stay behind. You might have escaped your past for a while, but it always finds a way to catch up with you." Leah looked at Ethan, concerned. The truth he had shared was still a mystery, shrouded in doubts. "What are you implying?" Ethan asked, anger rising in his voice. "Just a friendly reminder. You and I know how business works. You've made many enemies, Ethan, and some of them aren't as benevolent as I am." He turned to Leah, an enigmatic smile on his face. "You should be careful, dear. Not everything that glitters is gold." With that, Alex stepped back, returning to his car. Before getting in, he looked at Ethan, a provocative look in his eyes. "See you later, Ethan, and good luck, Leah. You're going to need it." As soon as Alex's car drove away, the tension in the air intensified. Leah turned to Ethan, confusion and worry painting her face. "What did he mean by that? Is there more to your past than you told me?" Ethan stepped away, frustration evident in every movement. "I'll take care of this, Leah. You don't need to worry about him." "But I do worry. You're hiding something from me. I can't stay here without knowing the truth." Her voice was a mix of desperation and determination. He turned to her, his eyes revealing deep pain. "I just want to protect you. I can't lose you to my past." Leah stepped closer, placing her hand on his arm. "But we can't build a future together if we're not honest with each other. I want to know the truth." He took a deep breath, the internal battle visible in his eyes. "I don't know if I'm ready to tell you everything, but I'll try." Ethan began to speak, revealing the secrets that haunted him. He explained how his father had become involved in an illegal scheme, putting his family in danger, and how he had to fight to escape that world. "Alex is a reminder of what I tried to leave behind. He's always been a rival, but now it seems he's determined to make me pay for something I've already left in the past." Leah listened intently, her heart aching for the struggles Ethan had to face. "You're not alone, Ethan. I'm here with you. Together, we can face whatever comes." He looked into her eyes, a mix of gratitude and love reflecting in his gaze. "Thank you, Leah. You don't know how much this means to me." In that moment, the bonds between them grew stronger, like an invisible thread that connected them. They were ready to face any storm that the future might bring. Together, they were ready to challenge the world. But what Leah didn't know was that Ethan's past was about to become much more present, bringing challenges that would test not only the strength of their relationship, but also the very concept of love and loyalty. The following weeks were marked by increasing tension. Leah and Ethan tried to stay strong in their commitment, but the shadow of Ethan's past seemed to grow with each passing day. Alex's warning still echoed in Leah's mind, and the uncertainty of what could happen always present. One morning, while Leah was in the living room reviewing some documents for her father's company, the phone rang. She answered, thinking it would be Ethan, but the voice on the other end was unfamiliar. "Leah?" The voice was deep and authoritative. "It's me, Jake, from Ethan's office." Leah frowned. Jake was one of Ethan's assistants, but she didn't know him well. "Hi, Jake. What happened?" "We need you here immediately. Ethan, he's in a delicate situation and needs you by his side." Leah's heart raced. "What happened? Is he okay?" "He's fine, but there are some issues that need to be resolved. Can you come to the office?" Without hesitation, Leah grabbed her bag and quickly left the house, fear consuming her. Upon arriving at the office, she found Jake waiting at the entrance. The expression on his face is serious. "What's happening? Where is Ethan?" "He's in the conference room. We were discussing an important contract, but Alex showed up again and things got out of control." Leah followed Jake through the hallways, each step heavy with anxiety. Upon entering the conference room, she found Ethan standing surrounded by several executives, all with worried expressions. When he saw her, immediate relief washed over his face. "Leah, you made it," Ethan said, moving toward her, but the atmosphere in the room was tense. One of the executives, an older man, spoke. "Ethan, we need a quick solution. Alex won't stop until he gets what he wants, and he's not alone." "What do you mean?" Leah asked, feeling like she was at the center of a storm. Ethan looked at her, his expression grave. "Alex has made some threats. He wants me to help him dismantle part of our business." "Why didn't you tell me this?" she questioned, frustration taking over. "I can't believe you're dealing with this alone." "Leah, I thought I was protecting you," he replied, his voice tinged with anguish. Before the discussion could escalate, Jake intervened. "We need a plan. Alex is unpredictable and we can't underestimate him." The executives began discussing strategies and possibilities, but Leah felt that her presence there was more of a burden than a help. She needed to do something. "Wait," she exclaimed. Everyone looked at her in surprise. "I want to help. I can't sit back while you deal with this." Ethan looked at her, a mix of concern and admiration in his gaze. "Leah, this is dangerous. You shouldn't get involved." "I can't hide. I am your wife, and that means we're in this together," she asserted, determination resonating in her voice. The executives exchanged glances, and Ethan, though hesitant, finally nodded. "All right, but we need to be careful. Alex won't hesitate to use you as a weapon against me." "Then let's make him underestimate us," Leah replied, a spark of courage igniting within her.
Her heart pounding with determination. "You're right. I shouldn't have tried to protect you. We need to support each other," Ethan said, his gaze sincere. But before they could lose themselves in that moment, Jake entered the room again, a worried expression on his face. "Ethan, you need to see this," he said, handing Ethan a folder with documents. Leah looked at Ethan, and a knot formed in her stomach. He opened the folder, and his expression changed drastically. "What is this?" Leah asked, apprehensive. "Alex filed a complaint against me," he murmured, his eyes fixed on the papers. "He's trying to bring me down." Leah felt a chill in her stomach. What did this mean for them? "What are we going to do?" she asked, anxiety rising within her. Ethan closed the folder firmly, his gaze determined. "We're going to fight. I can't let him win. Not just for me, but for you and everything we've built together." The determination in his voice filled Leah with hope. They were about to enter a battle, but now more than ever, they were together. As they prepared for what was to come, Leah realized that regardless of what happened, they would face it as a team.
The love that was growing between them was becoming armor against the approaching storm. But one doubt still lingered in her mind. How far would they be willing to go to protect one another? The atmosphere in the office was tense.
As if a battlefield was about to form, Leah and Ethan had prepared to face the enemy lurking in the shadows, ready to protect what they had built together. In the following days, they worked tirelessly, gathering information about Alex and his activities. Leah became a pillar of strength for Ethan, bringing her analytical skills to the table. The hours they spent together discussing strategies not only strengthened their relationship, but also their determination to win the battle. One morning, while reviewing documents, Leah found something that could be the key to defeating Alex. "Ethan, look at this," she said, pointing to a clause in a contract that Alex had signed. "If we can prove he violated this clause, we can use it against him." Ethan moved closer, his eyes lighting up as he understood what Leah had discovered. "This could be exactly what we need," he said, hope rekindling in his gaze. "If we can gather the evidence, we can expose him." In the following days, the couple dedicated themselves to collect information, interviewing employees, and reviewing documents. The tension between them was palpable, but teamwork brought them even closer. The nights were long, and their conversations often stretched into the early hours. Meanwhile, Alex continued to pressure them. He sent threatening messages and tried to undermine Ethan's confidence in his business. One afternoon, after yet another attack from Alex, Leah noticed that Ethan looked particularly down. "Are you okay?" she asked, concerned. "You seem exhausted." Ethan let out a heavy sigh. "It's hard dealing with all of this. I never wanted you to get involved in this mess." Leah took his hand, conveying warmth and reassurance. "I want to be here with you. Together, we are stronger." He looked at her, deep gratitude reflected in his eyes. "Thank you, Leah. Your strength inspires me to fight with renewed determination." The couple continued to work tirelessly. Finally, days of research and meetings, they managed to gather enough evidence against Alex. It was a decisive moment. "We have to present this to the board," Ethan said, holding the documents as if they were a shield. "And what are we going to say?" Leah questioned, her voice tinged with nervousness. "We'll tell the truth, that Alex is manipulating information and using dishonest tactics to try to bring me down." The board meeting was scheduled, and the atmosphere was electric. Leah and Ethan sat together, ready to face the challenge ahead. The board members were gathered in a large, austere room, each looking more skeptical than the last. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for gathering today," Ethan began, his voice steady. "We are here to discuss the recent smear campaign against me and our company, led by Alex." The room fell silent, and Leah felt the weight of Ethan's words. She prepared to contribute. "We have gathered evidence showing that Alex violated contractual clauses," she interjected, passing the documents to the board members. "These documents prove that Alex was aware of his actions and acted dishonestly to undermine the integrity of our company." A murmur swept through the room. As the board members reviewed the documents, Leah felt her heart race, waiting for their reaction. Alex, who was present, looked visibly irritated. "This is ridiculous," he shouted. Standing up, "Ethan is just trying to save himself." "Silence," the chairman intervened, raising his hand. "Let's hear the arguments before making any judgments." The chairman began to review the documents, and the silence in the room became almost palpable. Leah and Ethan exchanged glances, the tension between them easing a bit. After what felt like hours, the chairman finally addressed Alex. "Mr. Alex, we have substantial evidence showing your manipulative tactics. This cannot be ignored." Alex's expression changed, his face paling. He quickly tried to defend himself, but the tide had turned. "This isn't fair," he protested, but the chairman had already made a decision. "The board has decided that you should be removed from your position, and any legal action against Ethan will be contested." Leah and Ethan exchanged smiles, a mix of relief and triumph. They had succeeded. However, the victory was too quick. Alex, now desperate, turned to them, his gaze filled with hatred. "This isn't over, Ethan. You and that woman will pay dearly for this." As he walked away, Leah felt a chill run down her spine. "Ethan, What did he mean by that? Ethan held her hand, a serious look on his face. He's playing his last cards, but we won't let this affect us. We have a future together and we will fight for it. Leah nodded, but fear still consumed her. They were far from finishing this battle. After the board meeting, the atmosphere on the company began to normalize. Alex had been removed and the pressure on Ethan started to ease. But the shadow of Alex still loomed over them, and Leah knew that the real fight was just beginning. Ethan and Leah dedicated themselves to rebuilding trust within the company, establishing a new path for the future.
During this time, their love blossomed. The small interactions, furtive glances, and shared smiles became precious moments that solidified their bond. One night, while they were at home, Ethan prepared a special dinner. He had transformed the living room into a romantic setting with candles and flowers. "What are you up to?" Leah asked, intrigued as she walked in. "Just a little celebration," Ethan replied with a mischievous smile, "to celebrate what we've accomplished together." Sitting at the table, they talked about the challenges they faced and how they had grown as a couple. Leah realized that, despite all the fears, they had weathered a storm and emerged stronger. "I never thought facing something like this could bring us together so much," Leah commented, looking into Ethan's eyes. "Neither did I, but you showed me that love and partnership are more powerful than any external threat," he replied, holding her hand. After dinner, Ethan pulled Leah to dance to a soft song. The warmth of the moment enveloped them, and Leah felt safe in his arms. "Leah, I can't hide this any longer." He paused and looked deeply into her eyes. "You're the reason I am fighting." Leah's heart raced. "Ethan, wait." He interrupted her, pulling a small box from his pocket. "I want you to know how much you mean to me." Carefully, he opened the box, revealing a stunning engagement ring adorned with diamonds. Leah was left speechless. "Ethan, Leah, will you become my wife? For real, not just in an agreement, but in true love forever?" Tears of joy streamed down Leah's face as she nodded, "Yes, yes, I want to." Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger, and his touch made her heart race. They embraced, the world around them fading away. But before they could lose themselves in their love again, the sound of a crash interrupted the moment. A car sped down the street, and Leah quickly turned to the window. "What was that?" she asked, the tension returning. Ethan looked concerned. "I don't know, but I'll check it out." He ran outside, and Leah felt her heart race again. The sense of danger was never far away. Ethan looked outside and saw a group of men standing across the street. One of them was Alex, with a vengeful expression on his face. "Ethan!" Leah shouted, running after him, as Ethan opened the door. Alex smiled maliciously. "Did you think you could escape me so easily?" he taunted. Leah was just a few steps behind Ethan, and the tension was palpable. She noticed that Alex was armed, a gun visible on his waistband. "What do you want, Alex?" Ethan asked, his voice firm but tinged with tension. "I want you to feel the same fear I felt, and I won't stop until you and that woman suffer the consequences," he said, pointing at Leah. Adrenaline coursing through Leah, about to explode. "You won't intimidate me, Alex," Ethan shouted, his voice echoing in the space. "I won't let you tear us apart." With that, Alex laughed sarcastically. "Do you really think you stand a chance against me?" he provoked, gesturing to his associates who were closing in. Leah realized that the situation was becoming dangerous. "Ethan, we have to go now," she insisted, but Ethan stood firm. "I won't let you win, Alex. Let this end once and for all." The tension peaked, and Leah realized they were in a deadly game. Her protective instinct kicked in. The tension peaked, and Leah realized they were in a deadly game. Her protective instinct kicked in. "Ethan, listen," she said, her voice laden with urgency. "We can't stay here." Before she could finish, Alex's men lunged at them. Leah felt panic rise, but determination took over. She knew she couldn't let vulnerability overpower them. "Ethan, follow me," she shouted, pulling him toward the back door. They ran, but Alex's men were right behind them. Leah's heart raced as they dashed through the hallways of the house, trying to find an exit. Hurry, Ethan said, opening a side door. They entered a small garden at the back, and Leah felt a bit of relief at seeing they were outside the house, but Alex and his men were close behind. "They're coming," Leah shouted, fear evident in her voice. "Let's go." Ethan pulled Leah to run through the garden, but one of Alex's men caught up with them. Leah felt Ethan's arm slip away as he turned to face the man. She looked on in shock as Ethan fought to protect himself, but the odds were against him. "Ethan!" Leah cried, despair taking hold of her. Before she could act, adrenaline drove to run back to help Ethan. She had never felt so helpless, but she couldn't let him face this alone. The fight was intense, and every move they made was a risk. The battle seemed endless, but then, amid the chaos, a car appeared out of nowhere. It was Jake with a group of security guards who'd worked for Ethan's company. "Ethan! Leah!" Jake shouted, jumping out of the car. "We're here!" The security guards quickly joined the fight, and the tide began to turn. Alex, realizing he was at a disadvantage, wore a look of rage. "This isn't over," he shouted, retreating. Ethan, breathless, looked at Leah. "Are you okay?" "Yes, but we need to get out of here," she replied, still trembling. Jake and the security guards surrounded Alex and his men, ensuring there would be no further trouble. Alex was subdued, and the guards ensured he was taken away. Leah and Ethan, still panting, faced each other, relief washing over them. "That was too close," Ethan said, holding her face in his hands. "I thought I had lost you." "Never," Leah replied, her voice firm. "We're a team, and together we are stronger." Ethan pulled her close, and they embraced tightly, feeling safe in each other's arms as the tension of the day dissipated. Leah realized they had overcome another challenge. The journey was far from over, but now, more than ever, they were ready to face any storm that approached. That night, as they snuggled against each other at home, Leah realized that her love for Ethan grew with each passing day. Together, they had faced difficulties, and amid the storm, they had found strength in each other. And so, with the certainty that they had won a battle, they were ready to write a new chapter in their lives, a chapter that promised a bright future filled with love, courage, and resilience. Months passed since the battle against Alex. Leah and Ethan rebuilt their lives, strengthening their relationship and growing even closer in love and trust. Alex had been sued, and the case became a warning to others who might try to cross Ethan's path. On a sunny afternoon, as they walked hand in hand through a park, Ethan stopped and looked at Leah with a radiant smile. "Do you remember that night when everything seemed lost?" he asked, nostalgia reflected in his eyes. "How could I forget?" Leah smiled, recalling the tension and fear they felt. "But it was also the moment I realized how strong we are together. And now we have a future ahead of us." "Are you ready to take the next step?" Ethan asked, seriousness in his gaze. Leah felt her heart race. "What do you mean?" He knelt down, pulling a small box from his pocket. "Again, Leah, you are the light of my life. Now, more than ever, I want you to be my wife, not just in an agreement, but for love," he said, opening the box and revealing a diamond ring more stunning than before. "Yes, I want to," Leah replied, tears of joy streaming down her face. Ethan placed the ring on her finger, and at that moment, the promise of a future together became real. The life they had built together was full of challenges, but also of love and overcoming. Leah knew that no matter what the future held, they would face everything together.